probably every Catholic in the world, 1.3 billion Catholics, active and passive Catholics, and then many people throughout the Christian enterprise and people of goodwill throughout the world have been kind of glued on this. There's something very unique about this moment, because it's you wonder where this next pope is going to be moving us. So Cardinal Prevost was from Peru, but he's actually an American citizen and had studied in Chicago. His gift really was really to bring about a sense of unity through his religious order. So within the church there are various religious orders, Franciscans, Jesuits, and in this case he's an Augustinian, following St. Augustine and the ways in which Augustine would teach, which was very based on Scripture. So the very important piece of the Augustinians is that they tend to keep their heads in Scripture. And but in addition to that, they're always about unity within the community. They actually live together in community. They're rarely often about on their own. Typically they live in like a convent style community, which is different than many other religious orders. So his whole sense of being was community based. But they also have kind of a missionary way of being about the church and the world. So though he was born in the United States, he was sent to Peru. And the diocese, I cannot recall. I do know it's a smaller diocese than the Diocese of Phoenix. We're about 2 million. I believe this is about 1.5 or so million Catholics. And then after that, after his time in, I want to say it's Chiclayo.
Something like that, yeah.
Something.
Yeah. Not that I thought they said Chicago. So.
Yeah. But so then Pope Francis made him a cardinal and then put him in the dicastery for bishops. So that means that he is the one who would take a peek at all the potential candidates for bishops, and then after full-on discernment, he would then present those to the Pope. So now that he's the Pope, he probably has an eye on some of the guys that he would have proposed to Pope Francis.
He wouldn't have proposed to you.
Well, I'm already a bishop.
I was going to say.
Oh yeah,
like
no.
that,
So
that
I was in 2017. I was made a bishop in San Diego as an auxiliary bishop, and then just almost 3 years ago I was sent here. But I think the key that he brings, at least on first face, because I'm almost in the dark as much as you are, is that I noticed that he did not speak in English when he connected with the crowd, which is interesting. He spoke in Latin and Italian, and he also spoke in Spanish. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes with this, because I think a lot of people are proud of the fact that he's an American. But in truth, his heart was very social justice oriented. So, and he's a big fan of the word synodality, which Pope Francis really urged us to embrace, and in fact has now put into law. The synodality simply means to listen to as many people as you possibly can before you assess what you heard, and then before you create any form of a plan moving forward. And his being a missionary down in Peru, his being a person of community with the Augustinians, he is definitely a person who will prefer to listen. So I understand that he is very much a a proponent of this synodal way of being, which is different than, say, the Robert's Rules of Order, where let's all vote on something. It's really, let's all listen to people outside of this room, let's get to know. And in that way, he's very similar to Pope Francis, who always liked to reach out to the peripheries.
Sounds like he's kind of, I don't want to say middle of the road, but he's not very conservative. He's not Pope Francis. He's kind of in the middle. He's kind of a joiner.
Yeah, I don't know where he will be, with his charism. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't looked up any of his writings, but he was the head of the Augustinian order for quite some time. So he really did have a sense of that level of governance. And now that he was, the most recent job was to oversee the bishops, that too would give him another level of governance, which I think will be very helpful as he moves forward. But I think the key for me is that he picked the name Leo Leo, and he's Leo the 14th, but the last Leo was the 13th, and he was a World War Pope, who was in the late 1800s and 1900, early 1900s. His whole thing was about peace, and he could sniff wars coming. And the other thing was, it was during a time when there were some political rivalries, political philosophical rivalries, like Marxism or socialism, or unchecked capitalism, so kind of a laissez-faire capitalism. And so he wanted just to stand right in the middle of that you can't have pure capitalism and you can't have pure socialism, that there's got to be a blend, because society does need to take care of its own. And so
your name from random.
no, that's so,
Leo,
and that's just my speculation. I suspect that is what it is. And the very first words coming out of his mouth was peace. That's a very interesting thing. He was talking about peace for everyone across the globe. And it was different than peace as in absence of war, but it was more peace as in we need to really look at our heart, and are we truly peacemakers personally? And I think that really comes from that sense of being a communal, in communion kind of religious order priest. Because you have to make peace with your brothers and sisters, your brothers in the same household, and that's no small household. Typically, there might be 14 to 15 guys, and you have to live with those guys for years. And everyone has their own personality. But how do you create that peace?
What does it mean to have the first American? I know he's not considered American because he's Peruvian, but everybody's going to say we got the first American Pope. Right?
Well, the first U.S. American, yes, that's true, because he was born here. But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting because we always had that notion that we probably would not have that, because that might, there's no doubt the U.S. is a superpower, and that might have been too much power in one place. But I think of the American popes, this one is probably our best bet because he was missionary in spirit. So he is going to be a person looking at the peripheries. He's not going to be politically motivated as much as he's going to be heart-to-heart motivated. He's going to look out for the human person. Very much like Pope Francis in that regard. I don't know all of his views. I get the notion that he would be like Pope Francis on even women diaconate, that probably would not happen because there's a question about the doctrinal matter surrounding that, which is very difficult to challenge. But as I said, regarding synodality, that's very important. I think the other piece is that whatever the doctrine is, that doesn't mean he isn't going to reach across the aisles. I mean, he has an ecumenical spirit, a religious, interreligious spirit. So he's been working with people of different traditions for years. So even though he's never going to give up his Catholicity, he's going to reach, people across and dine with them, I think, in a way that's similar to Francis. It'll be interesting because we don't know much about him, and so therefore we don't know even his level of charism. So is he going to be like this really popular kind of pope? He seemed to kind of read from script. So that'll be interesting to me to see what kind of a person he is. But it doesn't have to be a person with great charism, I think a lot of people like that because he's kind of suggests he's kind of folksy with the rest of us. But I think it's just going to be, we don't know. It's just, I don't know enough about him, I can say that. Yeah. I remember his name popping up, him coming across the table, and that he was a possibility. But I never really got too deep into it because I honestly thought, well, maybe I don't think we're going to have a U.S. Citizen. But he's dual citizenship, U.S. and Peru. Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Thank you.